Hello and welcome to the long view with me, Jon Jordan. Today we are playing Top Drives. So as we can see, it's a car game from Hutch. Hutch is a well-known UK developer, does a lot of vehicle-based games. But what's interesting about Top Drives is, I think it reminds me of when mobile free-to-play games were starting out, and they used to use this term a lot called minimum viable product. So minimum viable product was you put together kind of the minimum amount of game you thought you could get away with almost, and then you put it out into the market and tested it really, and then if people liked it you kind of added more and more stuff in there. It's something that's kind of gone a bit by the wayside because there's so many games now and so much competition, but this does remind me in many ways of a minimum viable product game. So why am I saying that? Well, I think without being rude, we can say it's not the best looking game. So it's a very kind of, at this point, very menu driven, but very, very static, very boxy. It has, in terms of features, there's not a lot going on there. There's enough content. There's obviously multiplayer, which can be a lot of content. You can spend a lot of time in multiplayer. And there's also kind of a lot of cars. So you can see there, I've only got at the moment 10 cars of 700. That's partly because you get rid of quite a lot of cars. You can't keep 700 cars in your collection. But it's just not really an awful lot. So let's go in and have a look, so what I mean. So when we go into my cars, so I've only got 10, and if we look, this is a very almost like a top trumps almost type approach. So it's very simple. These are just photos of the cars, not even necessarily great photos of the cars, you'd say. And the cars, as you'd expect in this kind of game, you're using the stats, but very simple stats. So it's not very complex in terms of the presentation of cars in an RPG type form. You've got top speed, you've got seconds from 0 to 60, and then grip, and then the drive for four-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive, and front-wheel drive. Obviously there is this kind of element where, as you'd expect, you can go in and upgrade stuff. So this is my Caterham 7, using just a bit of soft currency to upgrade it. But this is again not the kind of complicated upgrade we'd see in a CSR racing, where you're doing individual kind of parts, where the engine has different components. So in this one here, I've got to do a fuse. So this character, I don't know who she is. I'm not really into car games. Maybe she's a well-known car person, I suppose. But they're saying drag a donor vehicle to upgrade my car to stage 2. So I'm not going to do that at the moment. So I come out of this, but it's very simply presented, which is not a bad thing. But equally, I think the tendency for games at the moment is to go not simple, if you see what I mean. So we've got this kind of situation where they have these held cars. So these are cars that I've just kind of unlocked. And what's interesting is the majority of the cars in this game, and say there's 700 of them, are kind of useless. So the Buick Century Special Coupe with some woman with her sunglasses next to it. I mean, I guess it's an official advertising photo or something. Anyway, I don't really need that, so I can just sell it. What else we got? A Chevrolet Cruze. That's not going to be much use, is it? So it's kind of, again, there's the kind of, you don't have to think very hard. Do I want a Ford Fiesta that doesn't go very fast or very quickly or with much grip? No. Down the higher end, I mean, none of these cars. I may keep the Vauxhall, I suppose. It goes quite fast. The Honda, does it give me very much? No, not really. Get rid of that. So actually what I might do, let's add that to the garage, the Vauxhall. So yeah, this holding pool, nothing in there. Obviously I can buy cars, that's no surprise. I can go back to where I was. What was I doing? I was leveling up my Caterham. So let's go back in and upgrade that. And I have to do this fuse. Now what was the one I just got? It was this one, wasn't it? Yeah. The Vauxhall, so there we go. I need to drag up 2 cars. I'll drag up this Mercedes-Benz. Okay, confirm. I need to drag 1. I need 3, do I? Goodness. Okay, let's take. Let's have that one. Okay. There we go. So I fused it. Nothing very interesting happened. The car didn't change obviously I can't do any kind of customization on the car at all. It's just a photo of a blue car. So it's very, very kind of light in terms of giving you feedback, and obviously actually taking 15 minutes, so maybe that'll be a bit more exciting when it actually happens. But this is all very, very low key. In terms of the gameplay, again, this is quite clever. Just working my way through here, so you can just kind of see these different locations supposedly, but there's not very much. The locations of the races are really to do with the type of cars you're racing against. So simply they're unlocked by the amount of stars you get. So I've got 55. I've earned 55 stars. I've earned 50 stars. I need 55 stars to unlock Germany. Bavaria, to race some BMWs. I could go into Japan. Let's have a look at going to Japan. So who's no, okay? So supposedly I'm challenging her. Okay, so we can just see the basic match here is going to be a surface on road. Right, so I cannot play a match with these cars. Okay. So I have to take that one out, do I? Yeah. And I need to drop one other one in. So I have that one then. So that's my deck. In a sense, it's like a card game, and then basically I see what I'm racing against and the kind of race I'm doing. So I'm going to go around a car park. Probably am I going to do very well in this? So it's kind of a little bit of a case of trying to find a. I'm not going to win that one. I don't think, because I've not got any fast enough cars. Could try that one, I suppose. City streets. Let's try that one. Okay. Honda Civic, that can't be very fast. So we beat that. Indoor karting. Okay, let's see how we get on. So very quickly, just doing the matchup. But you can see this is very uncomplicated, and then this is the gameplay. You know, you're not in control of anything; it just happens. You're making your decision by the choice of car you have, and just about one. So if I win, I get 50, and I can get more if I win by I guess a greater time. But this is, as I say, this is kind of what I call a minimum viable product. If you look very carefully, not that I'm really into cars, is the car models are not the actual car models. It doesn't change. So whether I'm using a Ford Focus or the Honda Pilot, basically the models are pretty similar in most cases. So I think that's a clever thing. Don't get me wrong, I think this is a clever thing for Hutch to be doing. They really put together, I think, quite a compelling game. I'm not someone who's into cars, but quite like the kind of light manner of this. I probably won't play it for a long period of time, and I won't spend any money in it. But I do quite like it as a kind of design process that they've kind of abstracted what it is to be a car game to, if not the absolute minimum, a kind of a very lightweight development version. They'll probably tell me they've spent like years developing this game. I wouldn't necessarily believe them. I think graphically it does what it needs to do, but it kind of the way it's presented means it doesn't have to do a lot. You get what's going on. Of course, it will never monetize like a CSR racing, because you need to kind of impel people to really be obsessed with the cars and the beauty of the cars and the particular cars they like, and changing the colours and all this kind of stuff. You know, this is not that game. But it's interesting that, of course, because lots of people are competing in that market, this is a game that has kind of found maybe its own market, a bit more like a interactive top trumps. So I won that, and I got all 3 stars, so I can pick 3 of these cards. Again, I mean, there's no great reward system here. I'm not going, wow, I got a Subaru Leon, I didn't even know one of those things existed. It's a 1971 car. It's not very good. I'm going to sell it. There's no reason for me to keep a large collection of cars that aren't very good. So interesting. I do find this interesting. It's done okay, I think. They've had over 1 million downloads already, which downloads don't necessarily mean very much. In terms of free-to-play games, it's quite easy to get downloads. Much more interesting to see how much money it makes or how well it retains its players. And the other thing I think is interesting is it is really about the car. So you did see there was this bit of characterization. So when I tried to fuse that Caterham, that woman came up and gave me some advice. She's a kind of a tutorial, but again, it's very light. When I went into the Japanese level, there was the kind of woman who I have to will have to kind of face at the end. So if I go all the way to the end, you know, there she is. She's looking forward to my challenge, and you kind of have that in all of them. Yeah, but again, characterization is very, very light, and doesn't really drive very much. It just gives you kind of some idea of a kind of a boss level. So interesting. It's interesting. I think that we kind of see mobile games as getting more and more complex and more difficult to get into in that way, and this is kind of goes against the grain a little bit. So well done to Hutch for at least thinking differently to other people. We'll see how it goes. I suppose we'll see how successful it is from a business point of view in a few months' time. Anyway, this is the long view. In the long view, we play free-to-play mobile games and do videos about things we think are interesting, the games we like, sometimes the things we think could be improved. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube, and hope to see you again soon.
Hello, and thanks for watching to the very end of the video. If you have any comments, please put them in the comments box. We love to read your comments. And if you haven't subscribed already, the subscribe button is below. And don't forget to check out some of our other videos. There's 2 really good examples on the screen right now.